unique Halloween story about a group of teens partying in an old abandoned house. An evil set loose, and one by one, the teens fall to the night of the demons. Night 29 of 31 Days of Horror. We're going to talk about a classic late 80s Halloween cult movie mainstay and compare it to its inevitable late double aught remake. Let's get into the original first. Night of the Demons. Angela's having a party, and you're invited. With creepy, almost ministry esque style music and pure 80s animation. We open on credits that transition to typical 80s punk rock Halloween hijinks and are, within the first 10 minutes of the movie, introduced to all of our characters, all of our cast, as well as setting up the plot. There are reasons Night of the Demons is a cult classic, and it's certainly not the script, certainly not the acting, the plot, or really the cinematography. Mostly it's the TNA. And there are some good kills. The gore and the practical effects are top notch. It's a low budget movie, and you can clearly see that they spent the money where they needed to. It does a good job with foreshadowing throughout the first 20 minutes or so. And with the main actress, Judy, main character, dressing as Alice, you could see it as a scary Alice in Wonderland type analog, almost. So after we get the introductions and the exposition, the cast all begin to arrive at Hull House, an old mortuary surrounded by an underground stream that keeps the evil within it. And this is the place that Angela is holding her party. So after absolutely horrible dialogue, and everyone arrives, the party begins. And the evil escapes. With a moody, haunted house setting and atmospheric doom throughout, we follow the cast as they go about Hull House, where each of them meet their ends by the demons. For the low budget and the absolute lack of talent, none of the actors are good. But you don't watch these movies because you're wanting to see Oscar caliber acting. We get some impressive practical effects and interesting kills. The creepiness and intensity make up for the 100% B quality of the rest of the film. Jumping ahead a little bit quick, but the scene where in the original where Angela is floating down the hallway stalking the still alive teens, it's such an easy practical effect. But when you compare it to in the 2009 remake to Angela floating in the middle of the room, it's such a drastic difference. The original, it's scary and fucking intense, and it's a haunted house. Say you're at the end of this hallway, and this demon's coming at you and floating, seemingly floating at you. In the remake, you can clearly tell that she's on wires and is just spinning in the middle of the room. So this movie is repeatedly everything's scary. Let's have sex. And the characters are poorly written, but they're the type that would 100% get down when they're being hunted by demons. That's how the demons get you. You know, you think everything's okay, and a gorgeous woman is like, I want you, and then they turn into a demon, bite out your tongue, poke out your eyes, and you are now a demon. Don't fall for it. Night of the Demons is a full-on haunted house in film form. That's what it is. You don't turn on this movie for the high caliber acting or plot. This movie is all about its tone, the practical effects, and the kills. Period. I'm giving Night of the Demons, 1988, the original, or I think it's actually a remake. Doesn't matter. 3.5 out of 5 burritos. Just for the ridiculous acting, because they're all bad. There's no saving grace here. The ominous tone, the FX, and the absolute absurdity of the entire movie is just great. It's a fun, scary, haunted house horror movie. And that's what you should want in the season of Halloween. Oh, and the black guy survives. I mean, come on. That's like way fucking ahead of its time. That's beautiful. And the final fucking scene of the movie is a wraparound to the very first scene, and it's mwah, fucking perfect. Alright, so let's get into the remake. Although populated by beautiful people, the remake is lacking in everything that made the original a cult classic. From the tone to the story to the effects, Night of the Demons 2009, which I would rather look at as a sequel than a remake because they did change enough to separate the two. It's a perfect example of a pointless remake. Now, that's not to say the movie did everything wrong. Not at all. It adds an interesting story to the house and why the demons are there. So I'll give it that. And gives a reasoning behind the demons, which the original didn't have. The original was just, these are demons so bad they were kicked out of hell and they live in this house. And when people show up on Halloween, they try to kill them. In the remake, the backstory behind the demons kind of makes a little bit more sense. So I will give it credit there. It just fails to execute the story as well as the original, and with far shittier FX completely. While you can't say any of the actors in the original were good, it's almost as though the actors in the remake just didn't try. Whereas you can see the originals, the actors in the original, they're trying to act. The ones in the remake just phoned it in, and it's very obvious. The script could have benefited from at least one more rewrite or two. Most of the dialogue in the 2009 version is either absolutely pointless when two characters are talking to each other or just repetitive. You got the story, you don't need the story again, you know? Oh. Well, in my movie heart, I have a soft spot for Shannon Elizabeth, Edward Furlong, Monica Keenan, the heroine from Freddy vs. Jason. None of them pull off even a decent performance in this movie. One thing I will give the remake credit for is the gore. It's pretty good, although the makeup effects are lacking compared to the original. With decent and sometimes disgusting gore, poor, cheap effects, and a poorly realized script, again, it could definitely have benefited from at least one more rewrite. Night of the Demons 2009 gets a low 2 out of 5 burritos. It's got great TNA in it, but not as great as the original. It's got decent gore in it, but not as impressive as the original. It's got a new backstory to the demons, to the house, but not as realized as the simple backstory from the original. The 2009 version isn't really worth watching unless you've seen the original and you want to see what they did with the remake. Now, I know there are a bunch of sequels, and I've seen most of them, but not in years. Night of the Demons 1988 is a classic go-to for Halloween, at least for me. The remake can completely be avoided because you have the original to enjoy. So, night 29 of 31 Days of Horror. Night of the Demons. So, this shirt is not by robotmonsterprince.com. It's just a shirt I had and it fit the theme, so I wore it. But please, still visit robotmonsterprince.com for all of your shirt, socks, and sticker needs. Thanks for watching. Come back tomorrow and see what else we watch. Later.